All right, everyone. Now we need to talk about the Venezuelan drug dealing that's going on down in the Caribbean and the Trump administration's response to that. There is a little bit of a problem. You have effectively a catch-22 scenario when you're looking at this. Bear this in mind. You need to eliminate the narco-terrorists. Quite clearly, you can't simply sit by like the Biden administration did and say, oh, yeah, it's all right if you're running drugs into our country. That's perfectly fine. Making money for communists in the process, people who should be dispossessed of everything because communism is a lie. But anyway, they're making a shit ton of money. There's also human trafficking going on, all sorts of other problems. A lot of it's fentanyl, some of it's cocaine, and they're running it into the country, and the Biden administration never really did anything about it. The Coast Guard was effectively defanged under the Biden administration. They weren't doing anything. They didn't care about the physical borders. They certainly didn't care about the maritime borders. Then you have the Trump administration's response. Well, these boats are coming over and they are loaded with drugs. And we know this because there's no real other reason why a ship is going to leave off from Venezuela, of all places, and head for U.S. international waters. They're clearly laden with drugs and or with slaves, which happens unfortunately all the time. That's clearly the reason why they're there. So it makes sense to take them out. We do not need any further clearance. You do not need to be in our national waters. It's not necessary. We're just going to fucking bomb you. Go away. Now, this response overall appears to be effective. I imagine that people in Venezuela at the moment are a little bit more, there's a little bit more trepidation when they consider running 1,000 pounds of fentanyl into the United States. Problem is that at the same time, you are going to kill innocent people. If that ship has trafficked minors, for example, as some of them probably do, because, the sex slave trade is a big thing in the United States. Thank you, Joe Biden. Really cool. 14-year-olds getting fucked in the ass. I'm sure that he's into that sort of shit. He's into weird stuff. The problem is occasionally you're going to splatter them as well. What I would do, if I was Trump, I would wait until they're in the territorial waters. Therefore, maritime law no longer applies. You don't have to worry about that. Just wait until they get like 10 feet inside of the territorial waters and put on a show for people on shore. I think that would be rather appropriate, actually. The problem is, of course, again, you do have some like trafficked individuals, literal slaves, and things like that. And it's a difficult issue because you've got to defend your borders, unlike what the Biden regime did. You have to defend your borders, but at the same time, you've got like kind of screwy maritime law and things like that. Honestly, I generally support the Trump administration in what it's doing, though, because there's no other alternative. The problem is, what the hell else are we supposed to do? Do we have to board each and every individual vessel, process each individual there, and figure out what's going on? Because that takes a lot of time. It's very onerous. Meanwhile, Venezuela is literally weaponizing those ships. They're sending them on purpose. These are with the will of the government behind them. What else are we supposed to do, dude? You're literally waging war on us. So, I suppose that if we blow your ships out of the water, it's not really an act of war now, is it? It's just a retaliation against the warmongering that you're engaged in. A lot of people on the left won't agree with this. They'll say, oh my god, the human rights violations. Fentanyl dealers are taking lots of human lives. We've seen this quite frequently recently. I don't really care if they die. I just can't bring myself to care. Just saying, that's my own personal opinion, but if they get their heads blown off or something like that, I don't feel that it's any great loss for the world. It's also technically not a great loss for Venezuela. They're taking all of the criminals, they put them on ships with a boatload of drugs and say, haha, go to Florida. It'll be great. You might get killed, but, if you make it, wet foot, dry foot mode, I suppose, you can always proclaim that you're Cuban or something like that. Cubans, pretty cool people, by the way. No, I think that the war on narco-terrorism fundamentally is justified. The United States has engaged over the last few decades in a lot of like nation building and shit like that. Most of it doesn't really work. or doesn't work particularly well, and then we get left with a huge bill. With this, though, it's just basically target practice against, fishing trawlers. So this is not a war. It's not an act of war. It's fully justified. The Venezuelan government is encouraging this behavior. These people are effectively terrorists. Donald Trump is not being hyperbolic when he says that. That's the other point that a lot of people miss. These are not just random people who decided to set up a lab and create some fentanyl and they said, oh, we can sell this in the United States, we'll get a lot of money. If it were that, I would not consider it justified that the United States military take any response at all other than, rounding up the ship once it enters your territorial waters, process people, will absorb the cost, of course. Maybe we can sell the drugs, at a profit or something. That would be what would be justified. But these are weaponized vessels, effectively. They are being deliberately encouraged to do this by the Maduro regime. And this was happening for years, but nobody ever really wanted to talk about it. Oh no, this is a conspiracy theory and stuff. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's actually real. So, in this particular instance, blow them out of the fucking water. I wish that you would wait until they're in our territorial waters, so there's number one, less of a legal maritime question, and number two, so people on shore can see the fireworks. That sounds fair to me. Sounds like fun. That's about all. Peace out.